Hi, everyone. My name is Shiv Jhattu from Youth Culture, and I'm happy to introduce today's guest for our podcast, Dr. Pavneesh Madan. Dr. Madan is a professor at OVC, Ontario Veterinary College, one of the world's top vet schools located in Guelph, Ontario. Thanks for taking the time out today, Doctor.
Hi Shiv, how are you doing? Thanks for having me here, and I'm really delighted to be part of youth culture here today. I'm interested to hear what you have for me in terms of all the questions and queries you have, and then I would be really happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Let's get started.
Yeah.
Personally, I've always been interested in the veterinary field, and I'm looking forward to going to the University of Guelph personally and pursue animal biology as my major. So I'd love to know what inspired you to pursue the veterinary profession, whether it be in terms of being a researcher, a professor, or even practicing within vet clinics. What really drove you to become a vet?
That's an interesting question, and although the story is not as glamorous as I would love to, but it is just that I am a second generation veterinarian, and my dad being a veterinarian and a professor at one of the a major primary or I would say a national institute in India was the driving factor because I saw him work very closely with animals. I loved what he was doing. I would go and watch what he was doing, all the experiments I would be watching from the sidelines. And on top of that, I would know what, how he would study from huge books. And I was like, how can anybody really study that much? And, how can you imbibe that knowledge into your brain? And I would meet some of his students and they would really appreciate his teaching. And I got really inspired with that. So teaching, science, research, all that veterinary profession in general, I always felt that is what veterinary profession is all about. It was amalgamation of all these things, and I saw that this is something I would love to continue doing. So I was very fortunate that I found a mentor or like a motivational factor right in my house itself. I know people have to travel across provinces, countries, and travel the world and pick up a mentor from across the seas. And but I was very lucky to have within my four walls, and I would just feel inspired by what he was doing and wanted to do that. So that was my motivation to be a veterinarian. It was simple, just following my dad's footsteps.
Wow, that's really a great coincidence because personally, both my parents coming from a veterinary background, that really influenced my decision as to, pursuing veterinary as a possible career because, just being around them and seeing them work in the field and, what it really takes to become a veterinarian through the dedication, years of school. And then, obviously the career right now, especially with COVID and everyone getting pets, the career is in great demand right now and it, pays really well. So overall, it's just the veterinary field seemed like a perfect opportunity and, as you mentioned with your parents in it, it really influences your decision.
Yeah, again, the whole idea of having watched my dad do that was, first of all, the most important step, because I could have easily, just continued doing the clinical practice I really wanted to. But it was not just merely that because dad was doing that. It was also about once I started working, I had these major questions. Why is this happening? Or what can we do to avoid it? And I started realizing that I need to get those answers. And the more I was working, the more I had the research bug bite me more and more.
Wow, it's definitely interesting to hear your actual passion for, really learning and actually spreading the knowledge that you gain from your research. And, speaking of research, OVC definitely plays a big role in you having such, a successful career within research and within teaching itself. So what factors do you really think contribute to, OVC being ranked so high in terms of its research, in terms of its school as a whole and being a top 5 vet school in the world?
That's a great question. And actually, this goes down to how most of these people who do these surveys for ranking the universities, they have a very different criteria. As you know, there are so many different platforms which actually do this kind of ranking. And their criteria is based on the alumni outreach, number of students you graduate, number of papers coming from an institution, how much research is published from an institution, and what are the alumni and pass out students, what are they saying about their school. On top of that, it is also the student satisfaction surveys. who the students are, and how are these students doing after they graduate out.
It's a really comprehensive list of factors. I never thought that so much went into, just determining the placing of these schools. And now it's really clear why OVC is ranked such a top school. And I'm really lucky to be, residing in Ontario, where OVC is going to be the school I would be going to if I applied to vet school. So now let's get into a little bit about your personal career. So what does a day in your life look like working as a professor?
I wish I had a simple answer, but it's going to be a little complicated, so bear with me. I'm really one of those lucky few who, has a teaching program which covers both the undergrad and the graduate teaching. So I'm involved in teaching in some graduate courses, which are for masters and PhD. I'm involved in the DVM veterinary side of things, undergrad, or we call the DVM teaching, and the undergrad teaching. So anybody who comes into the 4-year BSc program, Biomed, I teach the 4th-year Biomed course. It's Biome 4110, which is mammalian reproductive biology. And that is, again, as I said, 4th-year course. And so my teaching, again, is very diverse and involves all the 3 domains of education at a university, which means graduate teaching, undergraduate teaching, and DVM for a specialized school like University of Guelph, where Ontario Veterinary Colleges exist. So that is my teaching part. And then research part is where, we are trying to focus on certain areas, which is the area I have trained in, which is, again, reproductive biotechnologies. And my research focuses on early embryogenesis. Why do some embryos, implant and become a success story, and why some do not implant? And the equivalent question in humans would be, why does miscarriage happen in women? How can we prevent miscarriages in women? And I use cow as a model because there's a lot of similarity in the rate of embryogenesis, between cows and humans. But using this animal model, I'm trying to address issues related to early embryonic failure or early embryonic mortality. And anything that goes with early embryo is something which I love to focus on, because that's my forte as a trained reproductive biologist. But on top of that, that is not my end story. Since I passed my Canadian boards to practice in North America, I also am still active in clinical practice. And thanks to OVC, who did let me come into the primary healthcare center and said, well, this is something you can easily be part of the OVC family and provide services to the pets in Guelph. So every 1 or 2 Saturdays a month, I am fortunate to work at the primary healthcare center.
Whether it be, coming from another country or being an immigrant yourself, what are the adversities you faced personally when you were on your veterinary career and trying to progress as a veterinarian?
There is always going to be challenges, and that's something we learned very early as a new immigrant, that yes, there will be challenges, but how do you gather yourself to fight those challenges? You can either choose to get bogged down by those challenges, or you strive to rise above those challenges. And sometimes it's all about how you progress through that challenge.
And I loved your analogy about the car wash and how all these challenges just made you stronger and better, and how that's a great reminder for any other youth to continue to persevere no matter what. So speaking of advice for youth, what advice would you have to offer to someone pursuing the veterinary profession, whether they're in high school like me or even in university doing their undergrad?
My advice to you would be to, first of all, really self-assess yourself, because I meet a lot of young students who are in the undergrad, and they are driven by, because it was my dream to be in veterinary profession. But once they see the ugly side of some of the profession, where by ugly side, not that there is under dark areas of the profession, but what I call it, that they have not seen the poop and the pee of animals, or they've not cleaned those kind of things. They're always fascinated by all the good aspects of veterinary profession. But when they start working in a clinic, they say, I can't really work in that smell. I can't really work. And then suddenly that dream disappears, because they never really realize what the other side of the profession is. And I call it getting your hands dirty, and that dirty in the sense of not just being in that profession, but also seeing the underbelly of that side. And that is basically very important for you to really realign, and for the youth really knock and check whether that is something really they want to do. And we find that people start off with having that is what they want to do as a profession, and the moment they realize, oh, this is not something for them.
Yes, I couldn't agree more that it's like extremely essential to experience the less talked about sides of veterinary medicine before you even like consider pursuing it and having that self-assessment. Personally, I've been volunteering at local vet clinics for the past approximately year now, and I found that this experience has been extremely valuable. First, I just wanted to see like, do I even really want to pursue this profession? And after that, just seeing the vet at work and how they interact with the clients and the owners, it was just an amazing experience. And I knew like right from there that, yeah, this is the career I want to pursue. And just what can I do now to make myself as competitive and as well prepared as possible. Seeing sick animals within the moment is completely different than what we typically see vets as. Most people think vets is just playing with puppies all day, but it's much more than that. It's much more strenuous and difficult, and especially in today's COVID age where communication and maintaining good mental and physical health is even harder than ever. So that self-assessment is truly key. It's truly admirable to see how much you care about your students and your clients. The world is a much better place with teachers like you leading the education system to new heights. I'm sure the students feel equally as lucky to have you as a mentor. Thank you for these amazing responses, Dr. Madan. Youth culture truly appreciates you taking the time out of your busy schedule to give some great insight into your career and experiences. We hope all the listeners enjoyed this podcast, and we can't wait for the next one. Well, that's a wrap for today. Thank you for listening. This is Shiv signing off for Youth Culture.